Years before 9/11, prominent Israeli rabbis were reportedly preaching about the coming destruction of two major buildings in New York City, claiming it would mark the beginning of the new era of tremendous wars. Some even visited the World Trade Center, telling bystanders to say goodbye to the towers.
In the Zohar HaKadosh, you will find there an extraordinary information. There will be two big buildings in the land of Edom, which today we relate the word Edom to America. And those are the biggest, the tallest buildings in the world. And they will be brought down completely. And that will be the sign of the beginning of tremendous wars that will end only in the coming of the Mashiach. 1 week before, one of the great rabbis in Israel, a Hasidic rabbi, he came with some people, some of his disciples in the car, and they were coming towards the evening. He didn't want to lose the time of mincha, the prayer of the afternoon. So he said, please, can you stop right here? I want to daven, I want to pray mincha here. They prayed mincha with minyan in front of everybody passing in Manhattan. Where? Right there, near the World Center. After he finished the davening, the prayer, he said, say bye-bye to those buildings because you are not going to see them no more. Say bye-bye to those buildings because you are not going to see them no more.
This was a long-term operation, planned years in advance, with assets embedded inside the World Trade Center and Mossad operatives positioned across the country in supporting roles. Some of them were even apprehended, but their stories quickly disappeared from the headlines.
It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed three men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. They didn't look shocked to me. They didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They were turned over to the FBI. Sources tell ABC News, during a check of national security databases, some of the men were listed as having had connections with Israeli intelligence. At the FBI, that set off alarm bells. The FBI needed the answers to 3 important questions. Who were these men? What brought them to that parking lot on the morning of September 11th? And did they have any advance knowledge of what was going to happen that day? The men said they were just taking pictures at the time. They said they worked for a company called Urban Moving. The FBI obtained a search warrant for the company's offices.
2 SUVs were filled up with between 9 and 12 boxes and computers.
Not long after the arrests, the offices of Urban Moving were simply abandoned. Almost everything was left behind. In jail, the 5 Israelis were repeatedly interrogated and given lie detector tests. Stephen Gordon was their American lawyer.
They were asked questions if they had ever been approached by or hired by any non-United States intelligence.
The dancing Israelis were released after 10 weeks and returned to Israel, where they appeared on TV and admitted they had full knowledge of 9/11 and were in New York to document the attacks.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
The entire operation was riddled with inconsistencies, sloppy, rushed and full of holes. But none of that mattered, because the media and the government locked arms in silence and refused to ask the right questions or release the real evidence. Need a reminder of how absurd it all got? We're told a hijacker's passport miraculously survived the fireball of a jet fuel explosion and floated to the ground, completely intact, right next to the smouldering ruins. Think about that. A passport survives what the black boxes didn't. Then there is the fact that the voices of the hijackers, as played to the world on network TV, was voiced by an Israeli Hebrew.
The voice of the hijacker heard from the hijacked plane's voice recorder reveals that the accent of the hijacker matches an Israeli Hebrew accent.
The next transmission comes seconds later.
FBI Director Mueller BBC News and ABC have confirmed that 7 of the 19 Muslims whose mugshots were flashed around the world did not die in the 911 crashes. They are alive and well and are victims of identity theft. An 8th accused Muslim died 1 year before the 911 hijackings even occurred. Who stole their identities, and why isn't the FBI looking for them? If the hijackers really were Muslims, why would they steal the identities of fellow Muslims and implicate them? Wouldn't they be more likely to steal Israeli identities and put the blame on Israelis? If the hijackers were Israelis, wouldn't they be likely to steal the identities of Muslims and put the blame on Muslims?
And never forget this overlooked piece of the puzzle. A group of so-called Israeli art students had unrestricted access to the 89th through 95th floors of the North Tower for 4 years leading up to 9/11. Not security personnel, not maintenance, just a rotating crew, some of whom have since been confirmed to be Mossad operatives with explosives expertise, with prime access to the floors that would later be obliterated. Look it up, it's all there. They called themselves E-Team and Gelatin. Yes, gelatin as in blasting gel. Coincidence? Or a silent warning hiding in plain sight?
Behind the gentleman in the pink shirt, you're going to see 2 big bold numbers. It says BB18. Those are fuse holders. Now look at all 3 pictures and look at how many boxes of plastic fuse holders that can be used for remote control demolition. And ask yourself, why would art students from Israel and Austria be having thousands of fuse holders? This building was built in the early 1970s. They weren't electricians. They weren't redoing all of the electricity in that building. Some of those artists are guaranteed Mossad bomb experts, and that's in the DEA document that you can read.
Why are key documents related to 9/11 still classified decades later? There's only one reason: because the truth is more dangerous than the official story. They're not protecting national security, they're protecting themselves from us, from the fallout that would come if the public ever learned what really happened on that day.
Why is it that 23 years after 9/11, files are still classified? Why is that? I had a friend die in 9/11, like probably a lot of people in this room. I was there, totally changed my life. Why can't I know what exactly happened? It's our government. No federal bureaucrat has the right to tell you that you can't know what your government is doing. Who owns this government? The federal bureaucrat who can't be fired? No, I don't think so. We do. If you wind up in a country with over 1 billion classified federal documents, you're living in an extremely corrupt country. Extremely corrupt. Everyone around the world knows that about the United States. We don't know it. We don't think we live in a corrupt country. We do. And we could fix it super easily. And that's just, let's declassify it. Every 9/11 document should be declassified. Oh, shut up, conspiracy theorist. No. If you want to create conspiracy theories, pull down a curtain of secrecy over what actually happened. Why are you afraid to tell me the whole story? Why are you afraid to tell me the truth? We can resolve this right away. Just let me see the evidence. I have a moral right to it. They have no moral right to keep it from us. So if I have one hope, secretly, for this administration, it's massive declassification.
With secrets this dark and explosive, it's no surprise they'd rather plunge the world into World War III than let the truth come to light. We must continue to reject the lies relentlessly. The greatest act of resistance is exposing the truth. Here at The People's Voice, we want you to join us in our mission to spread the word and defeat the evil. Subscribe to the channel, tell your friends and family about us, and join the People's Voice Locals community. I hope to see you there. Today's video is brought to you by IPv6ers. Are you a content creator who wants to publish information online without